Hi preschool, it's me again, and welcome to episode 2 of Gardening with Kyle. Today, I want to teach you how to do something a little different. Usually we garden out in the soil, but today I want to show you how to garden inside of a big glass jar. So in order to do this, what you are going to need is a jar yourself. For right now, I have this small ball glass jar, but you could use something big, something small, but you're going to also want to just make sure that it has a lid that you can put on and seal real tight. For this one, it is a special name. It is called a terrarium. And the type of terrarium that we're going to build today is a moss terrarium. This is one that I built a few days ago out of all the materials in my yard. And these are things that I think you're going to be able to find at your home too. So on this plate, the things that you're going to need are some small rocks or pebbles, some dirt, and I really just dug this out of the ground, some moss, and this is moss that I found in my yard. And if you want, you can also add small little plants. And I always like to plant small little things that other people call weeds, but for me, these are always really special too. So now, let's go out in the yard and I want to show you how to collect some of these things. Come on, let's go. One of the first things you're going to need are some rocks or pebbles. Now I'll leave it up to you where you're going to find those, but I use small pea gravel just like we had in our classroom. But if you don't have that, why don't you dig around, try to find really small rocks, just like we have in our room. Now, let's try to find some moss. Come on. Right down here, I have some moss in my yard, and I want to show you how to collect it. Moss is really cool because moss does not have roots like a lot of the other plants. The things that moss does have come out very short on the other end, and it's just to hold on to the soil that it's sitting on. So when you're peeling up this moss, just go right ahead and grab what you can. But come on down. I have my little shovel, and what I'm gonna do is simply just come underneath this moss and peel it up just like this. And you can get a pretty good sized chunk of it. Other three things that you're going to need are some good soil. For my soil, what I did was just come over to my garden bed and I took a big handful of soil just like this. And another part that you might want inside of your terrarium are tiny little plants. Now, any plant will really work, but you're going to want something small just like a weed, and you can always ask your adult what would be appropriate for you to pick. But down here, I'll take my shovel and I'll go underneath and lift a large clump. Once I have the large clump, I take my hands and I slowly and carefully peel that dirt back until I have just the plant that I want with all of its roots underneath it. Just like this. All right, now that you've found out how to collect all those materials, I want to show you how to actually put it together. So the first thing that you're going to want to do with your jar is to take some of those rocks and pebbles that you collected and just go ahead and drop them to the bottom. And if you're wondering about how much to put into your jar, fill it up so the bottom is covered. And you can take a ruler and put it up against it. You're going to want about 1 inch of those rocks and pebbles at the bottom of your jar. On top of those rocks and pebbles, you're going to want about another inch of all of the soil that you collected. So let's put that soil into the jar. And cover up all those rocks so it looks just like this. Now, on top of that soil, you finally get to put your moss down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this moss, drop it in, and just really gently squish it down into your soil. If your moss is ever too big like this piece, go ahead and break it to the right size that you need. And what I did was push it down, and I left a tiny little corner on the side so that I can plant our plant just like this. So I put it in, and I squish it down just like that. Perfect. The next thing that you're really going to want to do is find a squirt bottle or just a little bit from your sink and really spray down that moss to get it really, really wet, because that's the moisture and that's the water that's going to keep everything alive inside of your jar. Some other things that you can put in, maybe you can see inside of this big one, are some pieces of bark, some little rocks, and this is the best part, everyone. Go around your backyard and try to find some insects, some worms, centipedes, millipedes, roly-polies. They will all live just fine inside of this jar if you give them a little bit of bark, some dry leaves to eat, and they will do just fine in here, and they can be your little critters to watch. Now every day, what you're going to want to do is come over to your jar, open it up, and let some of this moisture out. This helps the jar just to refresh, to breathe. You can do it every day, you can do it once a week. And if you notice that your jar is getting a little dry, watch the moisture, then add some more water with your squirt bottle. And that is how to build your own moss terrarium. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to build a terrarium, but using pond water. So if you enjoyed this one, you might also enjoy the next one. Thank you, everyone. One thing that I forgot. When you place and store your terrarium, don't keep it right next to a hot window. Try to keep it in indirect light, because when your jar gets really, really hot from all of that sunlight, the things inside will start to fry and start to die. So please, keep your terrarium in some indirect sunlight. Bye.